All right, welcome to the 11:30 The Tiger podcast. This is your weekly preview of the LSU game this week. And this week in week 3, LSU's coming in 1-1, going into their first SEC matchup of the year against the Mississippi State Bulldogs in Death Valley Saturday night. And I think it's a good matchup for LSU this week, as I think LSU will walk out of that Tiger Stadium with a win. And I'm going to tell you why. And I think it's because number 20 LSU, they come into this game ranked number 20, and it's their SEC opener, and they're still looking for answers in the quarterback situation, and Les Miles have been looking for the answer this past week in practice, and also that game Saturday night against Jacksonville State. And Danny Etling, Miles pulled Harris out in the first quarter. And Brandon Harris went 1 for 4 in the first 2 drives of the game. And Danny Etling came in, replaced Harris. And in the second quarter, just really seemed like he lit a fire under that offense as he helped spark the Tigers to a 34-13 win over Jacksonville State. And Etling is a transfer from Purdue. He's a junior. And when he came in, it seemed like he just lifted out offense right off, because in the first possession, he ended it with a 46-yard touchdown pass to tight end Deshaun Smith. In the second quarter, he also completed 6 of 8 passes for 100 yards. And LSU scored, touchdowns on 4 consecutive possessions after he came into the game, and they took a 27-10 lead after the crazy Tre'Davious White punt return, which I'm sure all of y'all have seen, because I think that was the top play of the week in any sport in the country, because that was just insane of how he didn't go down. He ran 21 yards backwards. So Shreveport representing right there, and glad to see him take that punt return for a touchdown and get recognized nationally. But so let's go ahead and talk about the quarterback controversy, because I know that's what's on everyone's mind as we enter this week 3 game against Mississippi State. And Harris, he completed only 1 of his 4 attempts against Jacksonville State for 8 yards. And that was the first 2 possessions of the game. And Etling came in, as I said, he lifted that offense up and basically lit the spark for LSU to win 34-14. And Mississippi State, meanwhile, seems to have settled pretty good in the quarterback competition that they were having when they lost to South Alabama. After a shanked kick, and South Alabama upset Mississippi State in Starkville. But their quarterback, Nick Fitzgerald, looked really good against South Carolina. He's a sophomore quarterback from Richmond Hill, Georgia. And he's not small either. He's 6'5", 230 pounds. And, this year, this is even with the game where he swapped in and out in a competition battle against South Alabama. He's gone 19 for 29, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But what really caught my eye when I was looking at his stats and what he did last Saturday against South Carolina, 19 carries and 206 rushing yards in these first 2 games. And he has a 74-yard touchdown run. So we know Fitzgerald can run. And he looks pretty consistent throwing a football, at least he did Saturday. So coming into this game with Mississippi State in the post-Prescott era there, they have another dual-threat quarterback at Mississippi State, just like Prescott was. And, he's basically another Dak Prescott with his size. And, he needs to make improvements throwing the football, which I think is going to be a tough matchup for him with that LSU secondary, because a strength of LSU is their secondary. It's called DBU for a reason, Defensive Back University, because it seems like we always have great defensive backs at LSU. We have Patrick Peterson, the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, Morris Claiborne, all starters in the NFL making big money and really helping their teams in the NFL right now. And their secondary returns, almost the entire secondary. Almost everybody comes back with Tre'Davious White, the guy who had the crazy punt return Saturday in a freshman, Kristen Fulton and Savion Smith, and they took reps for the first string in spring practice when they came in early, and imposing quarterbacks were struggling against this group all off season. The LSU quarterbacks were not able to throw the ball up anywhere, and but the biggest negative I think for LSU is not Dave Aranda himself, but I think learning a new defense under him, because they switched to a 3-4 under him when he came here from Wisconsin over the offseason. And it posted, a new challenge for LSU. In a 3-4, you have to have like a dominating, consistent nose tackle. LSU has Devon Gacho, 293 pounds. Not really the weight you want your defensive tackle to be, but he's so athletic. That's why Aranda moved him to defensive tackle. And, with Travante Valentine, is going to be teaming up with him, and the lack of experience at depth of linebackers should just, I think it should help with Arden Key and Tashawn Bauer. And they're now playing outside linebacker for the Tigers. And I think their linebacking core is, the biggest issue on their defense, because their defensive line it's decent. Linebackers need a lot of work, but their secondary is fine, because that's what their biggest deal was covering the short passing game against Wisconsin. And but of course their biggest positive on offense with Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis, the best 1-2 combo in the entire nation. You got David Geis, a leading rusher for LSU, actually, with 21 carries and 58 yards, because Fournette did not play against Jacksonville State with that tweaked ankle. But Fournette, 23 carries, 138 yards against Wisconsin. So, but now it's what I've been saying since offseason is quarterback play is what's going to carry LSU to what they can still get is a playoff berth. Because if LSU wins the SEC, and because they got a tough schedule this year, if they win out and they beat Auburn at Auburn, 23 Florida at Florida, Ole Miss and Alabama both at home, and then at Arkansas and at Texas A&M, there's no way you can leave them out of the playoff. So there's still hope. After that 2-point loss to Wisconsin, no, you should not sit there and think LSU has no chance of making it. Because if we do win out, if LSU wins out, they're definitely in the playoff. You cannot say that, because that's, or at least in the preseason, that's 4 preseason ranked teams, and now 5 right now coming into week 3. They'll have an SEC teams too, so the playoffs that's definitely going to help in the playoff committee. But we're going to start talking about Mississippi State now and what their biggest positive is on defense and offense, and also their negative on defense and offense. So let's go ahead and start with the biggest positive and negative on defense. But the biggest positive for the Bulldogs is that they have their 7 of the top 10 tacklers, I believe, from last season coming back, and they have strong depth along that defensive line. And they have Jamal Peters and Brandon Bryant and Mark Larkin. They switch these safeties around to keep fresh legs in there all the time. And so that's going to be another huge situation for the LSU quarterback dilemma, is are they going to be able to keep up with the safeties at Mississippi State as they switch and keep fresh legs in there? And these aren't any walkovers. These are some NFL-bound safeties here at Mississippi State. But what I worry about with Mississippi State, they don't turn the ball over. They don't get the ball back. They don't cause turnovers. And I think that with because they have basically almost an all-new defensive coaching staff, and I think it's going to be a while till they all start clicking together. And I think that's another plus for LSU and their experience on offense with Malachi Dural. And I think this week Drake Davis is going to get more involved. The freshman out of the IMG Academy in Florida. I think this week he's going to show up. He's going to ball out, and I think he's going to be a huge factor in the win for the Tigers. I think the passing game is going to be much better no matter who starts. If it's Harris, if it's Etling, I don't know who it is, but I think both players, since they both have a chip on their shoulder, I think they're going to play great, whoever it is. If Miles goes with the 2-quarterback system, or if he goes with Etling because of his performance against Jacksonville State, or if he's going to give the starting position back to Harris just to see how he does in the beginning of the game. But I think the problem with Harris, I think, is he doesn't look very poised in the pocket. When he's going up, when he's sitting in the pocket, he looks like he wants to run. And that's what he's good at. He's good at escaping the pocket, but I feel like he's staying in the pocket too much to where he's making bad decisions because he doesn't want to try to roll out. And he's not the heaviest guy, but he's a tough kid. So if he runs out and he gets hit, I think he's going to be okay. He's not a Tony Romo, for crying out loud. Yeah, he's not very poised when he's in the pocket. He doesn't look comfortable. So he's making these bad decisions, throwing the football into coverage, double coverage, or he's just trying to force the ball places he cannot fit it. Because Brandon Harris has got great arm talent. That's why Cam Cameron got him to LSU. Because Cam Cameron used to be the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, if you did not know that. And so he knows arm talent when he sees it. And that's why so many other teams, schools around the country wanted Brandon Harris, but he decided to stay in his home state, Louisiana. And with that being said, you can have all the arm talent you want, but you have to have the mental toughness to play quarterback, especially at a school like LSU where football rules all. And you saw after the Wisconsin game, after he threw the pick to end the game, he was crying on the sidelines because all the emotion, he knew that game was riding on his shoulders, and he let everyone down. I'm not saying I still believe in Brandon Harris. All I'm saying is that he knows better and that he needs to settle down. This might be a humbling experience for him to be pulled out of the game because, yes, there was talk of benching him during the offseason and not letting him start, but there wasn't any rumors that there was a quarterback competition going on. It was his job. But when he comes off these past 2 games and starts awful, then he's sitting on the sidelines. And if y'all were watching the game Saturday night, they showed Brandon Harris on the sidelines a lot, and Brandon Harris did not look happy. So maybe this would be a humbling experience for him, and maybe he will bounce back and have a great game against Mississippi State. Let's hope that for Brandon Harris and for the LSU Tigers as they take on Mississippi State Saturday at 7 p.m. on ESPN2 in Baton Rouge in the real Death Valley, Tiger Stadium. So this has been the preview for LSU's Week 3 matchup against Mississippi State. And thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and follow us on Facebook and Twitter so we can give you updates on local sports news and news around our area here in Shreveport, Bossier, and even the Arklatex. And while you're there, go ahead and vote for the 11:30 The Tiger high school football game of the week, because I know everyone here loves their high school football. And every week we're going to have 4 games on the ballot. And the winner, we will be at that game live, reporting live on social media, and we will be interviewing coaches and players and having a podcast about that game with those interviews. And we will also be there handing out footballs to all the families and the kids, and just everyone go vote, and then hopefully your team will win, and I'll hopefully see you out there. Again, thank you for tuning in, and God bless you all, and hope you all have a blessed day.